Hey everyone, most of us picture Alaska as America's biggest, coldest state, land of polar bears, glaciers, and endless wilderness. But did you know that this place used to belong to Russia, and in 1867 it was simply sold? Yes, literally sold for $7.2 million. Today that amount would be roughly $130 to $150 million, but back then it worked out to about 2 cents per acre. Historians now call this one of the greatest real estate deals in world history. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly how it happened, why Russia gave it up, and why it turned out to be such an incredible win for the United States. Everything started back in the 18th century. In 1725, Peter the Great sent the Danish explorer Vitus Bering on an expedition into the Pacific. In 1741 Bering reached the Alaskan coast and claimed it for the Russian Empire. After that, Russian fur traders, mostly working through the Russian-American Company, began settling the area. They hunted sea otters, foxes, seals, and other fur-bearing animals, shipped the pelts to Europe, and made serious money. Settlements appeared on the Aleutian Islands, Kodiak, Sitka. These became real Russian outposts. But honestly, Alaska was extremely far from St. Petersburg. Thousands of miles away, brutal climate, supplies were incredibly expensive to deliver, and the local population was small. Holding onto it was costly and brought limited profit. Fast forward to the 19th century, things changed dramatically. The Crimean War of 1853-1856 was a disaster for Russia. They lost to Britain and France, the treasury was empty, the army was exhausted, the economy was in ruins. Defending Alaska became practically impossible. And right next door was British-controlled Canada. If another war broke out, the British could easily seize Alaska, and that would be a humiliating loss for Russia. So Emperor Alexander II and his advisors started seriously discussing selling the territory. They first offered it to Great Britain in the 1850s, Britain wasn't interested. Then they turned to the United States. By 1866 the Russian ambassador in Washington, Eduard de Steckel, began quiet negotiations with U.S. Secretary of State William H. Seward. Seward was a strong believer in manifest destiny. He wanted to expand American territory as much as possible. He had actually been eyeing Alaska for years. The talks were kept secret. On the night of March 29 to 30, 1867, they sat down and hammered out the final details, at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yes, they signed the treaty at 4 a.m. The price, $7.2 million in gold. The Russian side had instructions not to go below $5 million, but they managed to get a bit more by playing on Seward's enthusiasm. The treaty then went to the U.S. Senate for ratification. At first, many senators were skeptical. The chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Charles Sumner, initially had doubts too. But he studied the documents carefully, held hearings, and on April 8, 1867, he gave a powerful 3-hour speech on the Senate floor. He described Alaska's climate, resources, fish, minerals, strategic position, everything known at the time. Interestingly, it was Sumner who officially suggested the name, Alaska, from an Aleut word meaning roughly, the Great Land. On April 9 the Senate voted 37-2 in favor, almost unanimous. President Andrew Johnson signed it on May 28. The official handover ceremony took place on October 18, 1867, in Sitka. The Russian flag was lowered, the American flag was raised, troops saluted, and Alaska officially became American territory. But here's the funny part. Most Americans at the time thought it was a joke. Newspapers mocked it mercilessly. They called it Seward's Folly, Seward's Icebox, Andrew Johnson's Polar Bear Garden. People said it was worthless frozen wasteland, nothing but ice, snow, and maybe a few bears. Many genuinely believed the government had thrown money away. History proved them wrong in spectacular fashion. In 1896-1899 the Klondike and Nome gold rushes exploded. Tens of thousands of prospectors flooded into Alaska, new towns sprang up, and the economy took off. Then, in 1968, the massive Prudhoe Bay oil field was discovered, one of the largest in North America. Today Alaska produces about 25% of U.S. domestic oil, over half of the country's seafood, and has become a major tourism and military hub. In 1959 Alaska officially became the 49th state of the United States. So what started as Seward's Folly turned into one of the smartest purchases ever made. For Russia it provided much-needed cash during a difficult time. For the United States it brought enormous natural resources, Strategic control